So I want to ask, I had an interesting conversation in recess with one of the guys that I know. He's studying CTA at Stellenbosch, and I had really difficulties with studying. I think the main thing is that you spend a lot of contact time with the content, and you try and make notes for every single thing because you think, okay, at the end of the year, we would have done 15 topics, and I want to be able to remember or just reflect on a specific topic that we did in the beginning of the year so that I don't have to spend so much time on doing it later on during, when you're preparing for the exam. And I found myself spending so much time making the notes and not spending time in doing the question papers. And then I have so little time to actually do the question papers. And then by the time that I need to actually write, I haven't done really much in terms of studying or doing question papers per se. And I think every single module has its own approach. I think, for instance, accounting is extremely principle based, etc. So, what is your advice, perhaps, as to how one can approach to study a particular module? Um, yeah, I think that's really my question.
Sure. It's quite difficult.
You go
because-
first.
Yeah, I think it differs. But I think what's very important is that if one comes direct from high school and gets into university, it's a different ballgame, right? And the way you study as well would be different to how you pass your matric. And I know at the university where you guys are currently, there are services where you could go and they could teach you techniques on studying basically. So maybe that would be a first point of call, right? When I used to lecture, and I lectured auditing, and it was at postgraduate level. So it's a bit different for someone who's at undergrad, right? So you can't approach a question if you don't understand the theory, right? But with that as well, you can't go and write an exam if you haven't done and taught yourself how to answer questions. Right? So it's both of them at your level are important. It's quite demanding. The volume of work that you guys are doing, it's a lot. The standards are changing every year. The books are becoming thicker and thicker. So it also speaks about time management. So those are the skills that you might have to sort help as well within the, how the university provides that support so that you structure your life. So it's a difficult one to really say exactly for me to say you must do this. And if you study 8 hours a day, for me, I find it. I didn't study like that. I enjoy my sleep. I slept quite a bit. No, I really did. But then I didn't have a life. So if I'm not sleeping or going to church, I studied, right? So but I'm not saying you must be like that, right? So yeah, it's a difficult one. Nico maybe has yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So what I forgot to say earlier. So for somebody who really struggled to get through CA, I ended up doing a career of technical accounting in London. Okay. So what that means is it's called accounting policy. So literally, I was for UBS. I was the IFRS expert, advising on all IFRS matters. So all of a sudden, I had to become this geek that the top candidates in my class. I mean, I never saw myself as an academic. I literally, you can ask me anything about IS 39 or now it's IFRS 9 and the standards. And that's how I got into City. And then I not only did IFRS, I did US GAAP because US GAAP is still very different. And that's when it really hit home to me how accounting standards impact capital markets. And I say capital markets because these standards, and this is to my earlier point, these standards are all designed and the auditing of them so that the public and investment funds who invest in all these companies are protected and we understand what's going on there. That's the story of each company. The first time I met these guys was down there. I brought them a set of annual financial statements. And do yourself a favor, if you haven't, you should go on choose any of the top 10 companies, uh, and download the latest set of annual financial statements and take time and read through them. And again, that'll help bring to life what is it that you are working towards. Now, you don't have to do a career in finance like I have at the moment. You can do various other things, but for now, for CA and getting through your articles and board exam, that is what you do. So, and everything you work towards and study towards now is ending in that. But first of all, to compile it according to accounting standards, and then it's being audited, right? Is what the reader and the user of those financial statements read, is it accurate? Accounting, you've heard this before. It's principles. It's principle, it's substance over form. Meaning if I say I give Vincent a loan, the agreement says loan, but it doesn't walk like a loan, it doesn't smell like a loan, it doesn't quack like a loan. IFRS would not have you account for it as a loan. It's going to be something different. That's what substance over form means. Okay? A great example is some of you may be familiar with Islamic law or Sharia law. Now, in their religion, they have the concept that you're not allowed to charge interest. So the way that they lend each other money is I would buy a car from you for 90 and you would buy it back at 120, the 30 being the interest. So if accounting followed form, that would just be a buy and a forward sell. But after it's actually saying, in substance, if you look down and you peel and look at the economics and the risks, it's a loan. Okay. So the moment you grasp that, that's already okay. That makes sense. If you take principles further, and that's what every standard tries to tell you, is that first of all, when you recognize something, either as an asset, liability, or equity, or an income or an expense, and they give you criteria depending on what it is. The one thing I never realized is so important is, and I don't know if I think that's outside the scope of the module, is derecognition. Right? I cannot tell you how much hours I've spent in the bank doing transactions to get stuff off the balance sheet. Derecognition, right? It's a tough test. Banks wanted to get stuff off their balance sheets. Why? Because then the return on asset metrics looks better. But you wouldn't know that if you haven't read up, look at an earnings release to understand that what a CFO and its CEO wants when they go to the market and say, listen, look at our net income, look at my return on GAAP assets, look at my efficiency ratio. Then you understand, okay, why is this important? Why is that important? Now, we could talk about it for hours, we don't have enough time for it, but that's an example of how all of a sudden these things that you just read as theory could come to life. And then it provokes this interest in you and it makes studying much easier. And the dawn, that scary bit goes away and it's now replaced by something that's actually really interesting. But with the volume, lecturers don't always have time to give you that perspective. And to be honest, they don't always have the experience that Vince have. Not all of them has properly spent time in industry or in a listed company. So accounting is very principles based. Tax is just study. That's rules based. It's a rule and a story. Management accounting, like you, that's probably just exercising, doing papers, and then auditing again. There's a lot of theory that you have to understand. Once you got you have to exercise. And I always say to these guys, for me, doing papers, exam papers. I'll do it literally, time myself, because we always run out of time. Time myself, then I mark. And then I go back and I pull that memo apart, because the principles stay the same. They'll always ask you financial instruments. They'll always ask you consolidation, PPE, leases, what else? It's the usual suspects. And the principles stay the same. The principles stay the same. It just comes in a different form. I remember, I think in my board one, I can't remember the first time or the second time. I think it was revenue recognition question, but it was a parking lot and how you gonna audit that. Man, just because that's how they catch you. They text the same principle in a different way. But that's how you know if you really understand the principle, if you can answer it from any other way. So please you can't do enough previous exam papers. Gotta stop it.
Thank you.
You got a time.